Hello, everyone. I'm Asha Nayaswami, and I'm here with my friend Bara. Bara is speaking to me from Pune, India, where he lives with his wife, Shamini. So, Bara, tell us who you were before you met Master. Where did you grow up? What kind of a child were you? What were your interests?
Well, hello, Asha, and everyone. So, I was born in Uruguay, a small country in South America. And who was I before I made master? That's a good question. Um, well, I honestly don't have that many memories of my childhood. I don't know why, but there's a few incidents that I remember having that involved my father. That one of them, actually, I remember two things. First of all, that for some reason, I always wanted in the future to be a wise old guy with a long white hair and a long white beard. I don't know if it was before Harry Potter, but probably I had seen in the Lord of the Rings or something that. And the other one I remember that uh, I remember one time telling my father, um, you know that I don't want to just have money and a job and have a wife and all that. And my father, because he was in fact, he had Kriya Yoga at that time. He took Kriya from a disciple of Swami Sri Yukteswar who had visited our country, it seems. And he knew, and he told me, "Oh, don't worry, you don't have to. There has been a lot of great men that never got married and all these things." So probably, obviously, looking in retrospect, it must have referred to obviously the great saints and yogis, and probably somehow subconsciously, perhaps I was thinking about that at some point. I don't remember how old I was. That's the only problem.
Huh,
But
interesting.
yeah, I was certainly not a very um, common kid, not in the sense of like, I was special or anything, but I remember like I never really fitted in school, and especially in high school. In school still was all right, because in Uruguay at that time, school and high school were very different. I don't Now I think it's much more blended together. I remember one time one person said a bad word in school, and the director of the school gathered all the children and he started shouting and got very red because he was very upset that one person had said a bad word. And then when you moved to high school, there were so many words that I had no idea what they meant, you know. And I never even enjoyed those things. I never even used those words ever. But so I was very out of tune with what was going on around me in that way and in other ways as well. Anyway, so I
were
was a
you
little odd in that way.
were you unhappy, or were you just
Oh,
different? No.
no, I was not unhappy. And as you've heard from other people as well, I was one of those who grew up with video games. So video games actually kept me quite busy, and I was content with that also.
So you just weren't didn't fit into this world, but you went into the virtual world, and then everything was fine in there, correct?
Yeah, you can say that. I mean, I also always related more to ancient times, you can say, like more medieval times and things like that. I mean, I remember actually a comment you made once in 2012 when we were in Ananda village and we did a Shakespeare play or something like that. And you say, well, Vara, you look like you were in your time zone.
So
Uh,
in the video games, do you go back into medieval times and so on? Is that what you did?
um, Yeah, in some of them we did, yeah. But I also it was just the thing I enjoyed the most just to pass time, and I really enjoyed it. And strategy games and things like that will require me to use the mind like that.
Were you a reader? Did you like to read when you were a child? Definitely not.
Actually, interestingly enough, uh, I got here the first book I ever read completely.
Uh-huh.
That my father gave it to me when I was 12,
Ah, uh-huh.
which is in Spanish, obviously, and it's Legends from India, and it's a short version of the Ramayana, and that's the first book I read actually.
Really? Isn't that interesting? So you're in Uruguay, and
Yeah,
the first book you read, did you read it in English or Spanish, just by
it's
the way?
Spanish, yeah,
Spanish. English didn't come later. Did you,
yeah.
was the Catholic Church any part of your life there? No?
Not at all. The only remembrance I have of that is that when I was, I think, before first grade, I think it was, or very first grade, we were going to a Catholic school. I believe it was Catholic school. It was a private school. And I think there might have been other reasons, but as I understand it, my father took us out of that school whenever he told one of the teachers there that we were not baptized, so they told us we would go to hell if we didn't baptize. So he took us out of the school, and then we went to public school. There might have been other financial reasons too, but that's what I remember
Oh, my
happening.
goodness. So after high school, what happened? Was high school a difficult time with, or was it just more of the same, where just they were in one world and you were in another?
Yeah, I mean, I had friends, not many, but I had friends. I was bullied a little bit too, because I guess the thing is, I was always uh, usually very passive or very calm or the thing that I remember is I always give people more chances.
Mm.
So in that way, I will not get upset at people and hold it against them or whatever. Perhaps one or two, but so I don't know. Maybe that made good material. I didn't get bullied that much or anything. It's not like it was a nightmare, but and also somehow, the bad people, many of them actually used to like me also. So I would like, be the, what do you call, the alarm for them if they were doing something like smoking or something. If they were not allowed, I will be the alarm boy and say, hey, somebody's coming, and things like that. But yeah, it was very strange, because it's not that I didn't enjoy, but it was so weird. Like, the whole, especially I think in South America more than in other countries, the whole high school, more between this man and woman, this whole relationship, how vulgar it is, how, like, people just are swearing all the time and thinking about, sex and all these things. Like, it's like it was, at least at that time, a complete jump from like being super innocent and having no clue about anything to boom, suddenly all these things come up and they are supposed to learn if you want to fit in or whatever. No, like, it was very, very strange, a very strange jump for sure.
So, when you finished high school, did you think of university? What happened to you when your high school was finished?
Well, okay, I'm gonna say a little more, because I only did till second grade of high school in Uruguay.
Mm-hmm.
So when I was 14, my brother, myself, my sister, and my mother, we moved to Canada, to the French part of Canada. So I changed school there, and it was again being in a different world together with French and all that. But at that time, yeah, I used to enjoy school more. I actually got to enjoy more, to be more expressive, you can say.
Uh-huh.
But I barely finished high school, and then I came to India. So although in French Canada there is something between high school and university or college, I started going to that for less than a year, but then I didn't enjoy it, so I came to India. But I guess that is putting it very quick there. But yeah, so I didn't go to college at all.
That's good. I barely went to college, so but during this time, now that you're in Canada, okay, so you're out of the South American culture, and the Canadian culture is a little more congenial for you. You have to learn a new language. You had to learn French when you got to Canada.
Yes,
And
yes.
are you thinking by this point about the meaning of life? Have you become, are you spiritually inclined at all? Does God play any part in all of these years growing up? Is God any part of that?
Not God, but certainly, again, with my father, he will tell us stories. Like, we will discuss with him anything. Like, he taught us to meditate at a very young age. Although I never meditated, I always told myself, one day I'm going to regret that I've not been meditating all these days.
Hmm.
Um, I don't regret it, because it is what it is. But at least that understanding that meditation was supposed to be good, it was a good thing. And probably my brother mentioned, but I remember still some Indian bhajans or songs that were played in my house when we were kids, and picture of Sri Ramakrishna was there, also present in our household. So, but I was more interested in things like, for example, we will talk about Atlantis, like with my father, and see what did he think, did it exist or not, and aliens and other topics like that, and the vastness of certain things, perhaps. And I had a particular friend that also we will talk a lot about this. I still keep in touch with him somewhat. So once in a while we talk. I'm glad that I never got too much into all those things of conspiracies and all that, because now I cannot take them. But but we always thought out of the box a little bit, and I always knew these things were good, but I never really thought much about God. Um, I had a little contact with Master when I probably my brother must have mentioned that he got the autobiography of a yogi when he was 15-year-old, and so I was 12 at that time, and I don't know if it's a thing of little brothers or what, but my father went and gave him this book, and he said, "This is a very special book," and me, I was like, "What? Why is he getting a special book?" And I got a little bit jealous, probably. So, so what I did is, whenever nobody was looking, because I was always a little secretive, probably still I am a little secretive. I don't know, Shamini could say about that, perhaps something or the other. But anyway, so what I did is I picked up the book, and obviously I was not interested in reading it. But, and this is one of the few things I'm grateful that SRF changed something in the autobiography of a yogi, because in the middle there was the SRF version, and it has like a lot of pictures, like a lot of pictures. So I was just flipping to the pictures, and then this picture of Master, the last smile, came. It was the last picture, and I still remember. I just looked at that picture and I started crying.
Really?
So, for that much I'm grateful, because of that I got touched from a very young age. So, growing up later on, when we were in Canada and all, even though I didn't think of God or any of those things, I didn't really know what to believe. I never really took time to think about it, because I was doing my own thing. At least in Canada, we started also playing football. The football for South Americans is soccer, but I refer to it as football. At, but I was busy with my games and with my football, and sometimes going out with friends, and so I didn't think much about art. The only time I remember that I made me question is because in Canada, where we live, there's a lot of Colombian people, and they're much more Catholic. Uruguay is a very non-religion place, actually. And then a lady asked me, a friend, she asked me, "Do you believe in God?" And I was like, "I don't know. Is God Jesus Christ?" I say, "Well, yeah, sort of. I think so." She started saying, and I really didn't know what to think at all about that. But anyway, in Canada, because Ese got access to many, he was practicing all these things already. In fact, I remember I used to feel it so funny when I would see him walking and running in place, because I, oh my God, what is he doing? Because he looks a little ridiculous. We have to admit it. Like just walking like this. But anyway, but I remember, like, sometimes I would go to his computer when he wasn't there, and I would listen to Yogananda's voice. There was especially the chant, "Oh God, beautiful." Like, I will put it and I would like it so much, but I never told him anything of this, obviously. He got to know way, way later. And
So you were sneaking glimpses of Master from your older brother.
Yeah.
But it wasn't open. So you said at 17 you went to India. So how did you get?
No, 19.
18. So how did you get from sneaking glimpses of the autobiography to heading off to India? Did you know what you were doing when you were going to India? Why did you go?
Sort of. So the thing is this, like, whenever we had an argument, again, some other understanding was there, like, if Yogananda says something, it must be true, because again, that was kind of an understanding that we had, that things were different when certain people were involved, let's put it that way. So if I had an argument with my brother and he was saying, "But Yogananda said this," I was like, okay, and I was perhaps a little stubborn about it, but if he said that, I would concede. So, and also interestingly enough, the first book that I read of Swamiji or of Master, it was not the autobiography, it was The Time Tunnel, because when it was being released, my brother shared it with us, because Swamiji used to share it with people.
Uh-huh.
And I really enjoyed that book. I certainly could not understand anything about consciousness and timelessness and going to zero and all these things that obviously I still don't understand, but at least a little bit more the understanding is there. But and I remember also in one of those times listening to Swamiji speaking,
Uh-huh.
which I didn't finish the talk at all because I didn't have the patience nor the attunement for that. But I remember his voice really made an impact on me because I was used to old people being all frail and low energy and barely being able to move. But his voice always was so powerful and carried so much magnetism that it really touched me right away. So, as it happens, my brother, he probably told you much more in detail. He went to Ananda village in 2008. At that time, we were living alone. And, and when he came back, Swamiji had invited him to join the India work. And he had invited me, my sister, and my father as well, which later we got to know that it was not something common. Um,
Uh-huh.
so when he came back in 2008, I was, I guess, 17 at that time, actually. So you were not totally wrong. But he told me about that, and obviously I started thinking about it because again the understanding was there that I knew that meditation, that the spiritual life was something great, that's something that one should do. I just didn't do it. But at least that was there. And I didn't have many goals in life really, so I never had any relationship actually before Shamini. um, so I didn't have anything to tie myself. The only thing is I thought, okay, maybe, let me see, let me go to college, see if something interesting is there and whatnot. But as I said, after 2 years, my brother was very patient and he was also helpful. After 2 years, I was yes, no, maybe. Actually, in between, also, I went to Uruguay in that time when I was 18, and I asked my father. I said, I will feel much more comfortable or happy. Not he will not say happy, but I will feel much more. What is the word he said? He will feel more better for me, for my security or for my future if I were to go to India and join Ananda. And that was there. And then when I was 19 and I was still thinking about it and telling my brother, yes, no, I don't know. Finally, I went to college, or that pre-college thing that I was talking about. And the two subjects I used to like the most were mathematics and physics when I was in high school and all that, because I really enjoyed that science. They were the two topics I could not take at all. I could not stand them at all anymore. In fact, I left them and I rarely went even to class. I went to the physical education classes because at that time, because of playing football and all with my friends, I enjoyed it. And I was pretty good at running and all that because I had the physique also to run, I guess. But so I said, okay, let's go to India.
So you picked up with essay and just moved to India, and you went right to Swami's, where Swami was in Pune. Is that what you went direct?
Yeah. I had no idea about anything really. Like
Really?
I I had not read autobiography of a yogi. I didn't know Hongs or nothing. I really didn't know anything. But I always wanted to live out in the country. That was one thing. And I said, okay, I'm gonna go to India, live in this community, and plant some trees. That's what I told myself. And then other things will come probably. But that was my thing. I'm gonna go and plant some trees, which I did at some point, which was good. But yeah, we basically, again, very naive. Perhaps we gave away whatever we had, or I don't think we sold anything. I think we just gave everything away, saved some money, mostly my brother, but both of us. And I think we had $1,000 in the bank each or something like that. And we thought, yeah, it's enough. And we just left everything and came to India and figured it. I thought 50 will figure it out.
Okay, now I'm going to ask a couple. I mean, we could go for a long time here. So let me ask a couple of questions. When did you meet Swami Kriyananda in India?
In India in 2011, but I met him before that, though.
What kind of an impression did Swami Kriyananda make on you?
You know, unfortunately, I don't. He did because of being in Ananda. I was in Ananda for a whole year almost before meeting Swamiji. Because we met him in 2011 in Italy. The problem with me is that I had heard so much about him, and in my mind I was making all these preconceived notions and all that. So obviously, when I met him, I don't know what I was expecting or what, but I didn't necessarily feel anything like, wow, like
Uh-huh.
whatever it may be. I obviously knew that he was somebody great, and obviously his voice, again, was one of the things that really captivated me. But fortunately, I didn't have any like feeling of like, wow, this is like other people may have. And I think that's been a thing throughout my life, because people tell me something, and then and I think I have some karma with all this kind of thing, but that's a topic for another time, perhaps.
So
But
Bara,
anyway,
so how did it happen that you became committed to Ananda then? Did it happen gradually or was it sudden? Uh,
hmm, that's a good question. I think it's a little bit of both, actually,
uh-huh.
because we got the big blessing that we landed in Pune, in the city, and we got the big blessing that we got kicked out of our apartment, basically, the
Uh,
monks that we were living there. So it forced us to go to the land, to
uh,
the ashram, where we could actually dedicate our full time to whatever. No, there was no distractions really, because there was no internet, no electricity, sometimes no water, like so many things. So it was a huge blessing, because there, had the monastery was there. There were some other people, Dharmas and Nirmala were there, and they showed me the example. If it wasn't because of them, all these people, I would not have made it. And because I was in that environment of, the Pune land. So I think gradually a little bit, but there were a few points in my life that I kind of put a little more effort, and I say, yes, let's go for it. But also, I mean, partly is because I didn't have anything else to do. At the beginning was more like that. I didn't have anything else to do. I knew this was going to be something good, but just gradually, practice, reading, feeling, meditating, that desire to actually find God and live only for God started developing within myself. It was not in a sudden flash or anything. I think it was something gradual. But yeah, there were some moments that were stronger than others, I'm sure. But it was more gradual. It wasn't like this.
Good. Actually, that's how it happens for most people. Most people are gradual. A few people have dramatic moments, but what you're describing is more normal, where it just
Okay.
takes time. How did I know that you sing and you sing very well. How did Swami's music and chanting, how did that play in your spiritual life?
Well, it's very interesting, because the first time, like for example, the chant of the angels, when I heard it the first time, I was so bored by it. But gradually, again, and now it just plays a huge role in my life. Like, it's not that I chant so much. I used to chant more, perhaps before, but it certainly has helped me get to certain states or whatever that meditation, I didn't get as much with meditation. I think with meditation, I gone deeper whenever I was able to go deep, but kind of Swami's music and Swami's and the chants is kind of more constant for me. And especially what I love to do is listen to Swami singing. So I do much more of that than the actual singing. Like, again, listening to Swami's voice for me, like sometimes I just put his talks even if I'm not paying attention, just because of his voice. Like, it really uplifts me so much. And in fact, uh, sorry, Shamini, but lately I've been listening to an album a lot,
Uh-huh,
which is what become one of my all-time favorites, which is The Birth of Time,
uh-huh.
because that has Swami's voice, deep teachings, poetry, and beautiful music all combined in one. And I just find that so inspiring. And so many times I go to bed, more before than now, but with headphones on, just listening to very intently listening to some pieces of music, not just in the background, but sitting and listening to everything, and really has moved me tremendously. And sometimes in my dreams, it has given me some super conscious experience, you could say. So it is a big part for me. And just, yeah, I usually sing more Swami's music than the chants when I'm on my own or cooking or something like that. And that really helps me tremendously. I don't know if that answers the question, but
All right.
I forgot the question.
It's just so interesting because what you're hearing, what you're tuning into is you're tuning into the vibration. It's just like because his voice is vibration, his music is vibration. All the ideas and the writing is like second. The vibration is really what he's putting across, and that's even anyway fascinating to me. So there you are now. you're still living in Pune, but you're living in town. You met your wife at the Pune community. She showed up there one day. Yes.
He showed up one day.
she told me that you carried her luggage and
Yeah, I carried her luggage, and as she probably told you,
Mhm.
I after seeing her there, moving there, I said, well, this woman is gonna be gone in 1 or 2 months. But she's been one of the greatest examples of like sticking to itness. Like, I mean, I have seen the change in Shamini. I'm sure she's seen the change in me as well.
Uh-huh.
That like, I mean, that aspect of never giving up is something that she really has that I love. You know.
Uh-huh. Very, very good.
Yeah.
So now you live, where do you live? In the Pune town of Pune? And what are you doing there? What is your work?
Online.
Online?
Zoom meetings, Zoom webinars, like organizing online classes, and not so much giving, although now we are giving a little bit more, but more arrange the online world. We are trying to start a sort of community online, and we worked a lot in organizing, editing, recording online courses by other people. One of them was you,
Uh-huh.
actually,
Uh-huh.
and things like that. It's mostly online that we are doing now. We were a little bit involved with the Pune in teaching and giving satsang perhaps once in a while, but now with the lockdown less so. But yeah, it's mostly just these online things. Although I wish I could go back to the earth and plant trees like my original desire was.
Uh-huh.
I have to say, if you had told me to come to an Indian city,
Uh-huh.
probably I would not have come to India.
I see.
Because we were going to the land. I was, yes, let's go for it.
Uh-huh.
But obviously, after my understanding grew, and obviously now whatever master wants is fine.
Uh-huh.
But if it was a few years ago, or some more years ago, I would say, oh my God, no way.
So as a disciple, Bara, how do you see yourself? What is discipleship to you? What does it mean to you to be a disciple of Master?
Well, to me, to be a disciple of master really means like as much as I can to share his joy or whatever, joy, light, love, whatever you want to call it, his vibration with anyone whenever I can. That's basically for me what it means. Just as much as you can, open yourself to him and let him flow through you in whatever you do. And that's the 100 of the spiritual path for me.
Uh-huh. And what does Ananda mean to you?
Well, interestingly enough, I was thinking back some time ago. We did a video when we all met in Italy about, they asked us what Ananda means for you, and I said freedom. And I started thinking of that. And I think that Ananda is the first place that I could actually be myself. The first time in my life I could be myself and my true self at that as well. That not anymore I had to pretend to be somebody else, or it's not that I pretended too much, but certainly you acquire a certain personality and try to like things that you didn't like just to fit in.
Mm-hmm.
Fortunately, I never did too much of that. But for me, Ananda is that way. Is first a way for an opportunity for people to be who they truly are and they truly ought to be, which is their highest self. And the thing about Ananda that I love is that that higher self can express in so many different ways. I mean, I
Mm-hmm.
always feel amazed when, obviously, because in US we have the most examples of people who have been doing this for a long time, and it's just amazing to see how deep people are and how different they are in a personality level and how different they relate to God or the path or whatever. And it's just so beautiful. So for me, Ananda is that's one aspect of what Ananda is to me. And obviously, Ananda is an instrument for master, hopefully, as much as we can for master to be known and share. So, yeah.
When you look back on your life, can you see now the hand of God moving you, or do you feel you were just waiting on the sidelines? How would you see
Well, I don't necessarily see it, but I want to believe it's there in the sense that, you know, hopefully, I think it was probably him who didn't allow me to be in any kind of relationship, so I was not caught up in that.
it?
Obviously, that he showed me his picture at that time and, kept me going, calling me towards that. And certainly the hand of God was there in the family I got, because that certainly was a great blessing, to have first my father, then my brother that were on the spiritual path and going for it. It really has been a great blessing. But I cannot think in one particular event necessarily, but more like I want to believe that it was master that was like nudging me in those things and say, okay, yeah, try it for a little bit. You see, you will not like those careers anymore. Yeah, that's how I see it anyway.
Very, very good. And as you see your future as a disciple, what would be your ideal sense of yourself as time passes?
The ideal for myself is like to really like, I mean, be like Swamiji in a way that uh, just feel master all the time with me, that regardless of whatever I do or don't do, like if I can have that feeling that, sometimes comes, I wanted to have much more there. So that's as far as I can see of now, that's what I want more, to have that feeling with me at all times. Yeah.
Perfect. Thank you, Bara. That was really wonderful to hear. Everybody's journey is different. You may be the only person for whom the time tunnel was the introduction. For those people who don't know, the time tunnel was a book Swami wrote toward the end of his life. It's a story about two boys who find an abandoned laboratory and then travel back and forth in time. But it actually has a very profound vibration. I actually understood the illusion of time when I read that book. I didn't understand until I read it. I mean, insofar as I understand it, but it has a very deep vibration to it. And I just think Master's hand and Swami's creativity is just absolutely splendid. Well, Bara, God bless you. And thank you so
Thank
much
you
for
so much.
sharing.
Thank you.